In nature, a tiny rat can give the mighty elephant the scares. This lets us know that everyone and everything, no matter how big, can be intimidated. If you know what someone or something fears, you can control them. And this is true even for cartel bosses, those whose livelihood have put the most primal of fear in the hearts of everyone around them. Except one. The man you see on the screen is as badass and as legendary as he appears to be. I imagine that cartel soldiers and sicarios tell stories about his exploits over a fire on a Halloween night. So, gather round this fire, dear viewers, and let me tell you about why everyone feared El Marino Loko. El Marino Loko was a former military personnel named Eric Morales Guevara. He served in the Mexican Armed Forces, also known as the Marines, receiving wide acclaim and criticism for his methods in capturing drug traffickers and other notorious cartels. He acquired several nicknames in the military, including El Martillo, Mr. Thor, Man with the Hammer, and the Crazy Marine. He seemed to like the name Thor in particular, as he always carried a small mallet in his tactical vest. These names were not just nicknames. They were used to describe his personality and ruthless way of operation whenever he was on official assignments. While many of his activities as the leader of a special anti-drug squad in Mexico are known and widely broadcasted, there's little to no detail about his private life or family history that is made public. An exciting part of his work is that his face, as seen in this video, is hidden from the public. He keeps his face behind a hood during operations and even when sharing videos on his social network. As an infantry soldier, El Marino Loko served in the Secretary of the Navy. He worked to defend Mexico and the U.S. by extension in its war against corruption, crime, homicide, and drug cartels. Damn! He was a god in naval uniform. However, capturing drug traffickers wasn't enough for him. He also made a spectacle of the offenders and reduced the validity of organized crimes while at it. El Marino Loko was more than a force to reckon with. He raged against drug cartel hitmen and plaza bosses. He made a sport out of hunting top cartel bosses. He was also known for always carrying a meat tenderizer to his operations, which he often used to beat criminals up. For cartel groups whose pride and dignity is rooted in their illegal work, El Marino Loko's actions enraged them. Some of his popular methods of operation involved dressing captured drug traffickers in women's clothing like underwear and lingerie. He often painted their lips and made them verbally admit that they were cowards who hid under heavy arms to perpetrate evil. On most of his operations, he never stopped at seizing the drug traffickers and their properties. He beat them up and often made them to kiss each other. For a cartel boss, taking a meat tenderizer to the mouth may be more merciful than taking his own sicario's mouth while dressed in gowns. This they couldn't take. El Marino Loko knew where it hurt them, and he applied pressure. On a number of occasions, he broadcasted operational videos which he recorded himself on social networks, making comedic scenes out of the targets he captured with his team. El Marino Loko was arguably one of the first viral characters on the network related to the world of drug trafficking. He was seen in various videos, breaking the rules of his work and being unapologetic about it. It was said of him on many accounts that he abused his power and authority. Though his methods were described as unorthodox and often unlawful, El Marino Loko used his unique ways to crawl under the skins of the drug lords, create terror, and still got the job done. And for that, he received lots of applause. If you still don't get it, let me describe some of his craziest acts. Whenever El Marino Loko and his team went out for raids, he proudly shared their operations on social media. He was once caught on video giving live updates online and saying, "You know how I work. I am not going there to take prisoners." Often, he challenged the drug traffickers to confrontations because he believed in his unruly method of serving justice. The house of Silvestre Jaro Rodriguez, the alleged leader of the Gulf Cartel in the city of Tampico, which was well known as El Chive, was one of the several drug trafficking leaders whom El Marino and his gang raided. Now, let me share a little backstory about the Gulf Cartel that would wow you and give a little insight into their operations, and why El Marino Loko's victory over them was a huge feat in 2015. The Gulf Cartel was a Mexican drug trafficking, money laundering, and organized crime syndicate operating in Mexico. The organization was mainly composed of Colombian drug traffickers who were members of the Norte del Valle cartel. and other Mexican drug traffickers. The Gulf Cartel's main customers were organizations worldwide that smuggled drugs into the United States, supplying them at bulk, retail prices, or both. Founded in the late 1980s by Mexican-born Osiel Cardenas Guillen, who was assassinated in 1989, the group has historically been involved in organized crime, and they were well known. How brave must El Marino Loko have been for him to have raided the ruling leader of the cartel and his household in 2015? It must have been beyond the call of duty. El Marino Loko did not only raid El Chive's house, he confiscated his properties, destroyed some of those properties, and reportedly poured away the ashes of El Chive's father, an action that earned him great enmity within the cartel world in Mexico. While still raiding the leader's property, El Marino Loko found a photograph of El Chive's father, drew on the commemoration picture, and left a calling card behind as a warning. Ooh boy, everybody was furious. His superiors, the cartels, gangs, plazas, everybody. As a result of his actions, the Gulf Cartel wrote narcomensayas and pasted them on walls throughout different parts of Tamaulipas. In case you are curious about what narcomensayas are, criminal groups use them to justify their crimes and send threats to rival groups, police, politicians, and business people. In the message, he was publicly accused of corruption, receiving bribes, and stealing their weapons. Well, they did not stop there. They placed a 5 million pesos offer for anyone who could divulge information about Marino Loko or even capture him. Gosh, such a huge amount for one head. El Marino was indeed a big troublemaker. He walked the earth as though it belonged to him and brought nemesis to those who deserved it. But did they deserve the humiliation and punishment he meted out to the plaza bosses? Let's check out one of the infamous acts he perpetrated against El Mimido, another drug cartel leader in Tampico. The Mexican Marines, led by El Marino Loko, raided the cartel leader's house and dressed him and all his subordinates in women's lingerie. He then caused them to kiss each other as he recorded and shared the videos online as usual. The pictures made waves on the internet and stirred up a lot of controversies. In the same operation, El Marino Loko and his comrades discovered and confiscated many weapons caches acquired through illegal means buried in drums throughout the property. Julian Manuel Loaiza Salinas of the Gulf Cartel, better known as Commander Bull, was one of the prominent enemies El Marino Loko drew to himself. After attacking his cartel in one of the most unforgettable manners, Commander Bull swore never to forgive the wrongdoings that El Marino Loko committed against the members of his cartel. El Marino Loko pierced the tails of lions. How hard did they bite?
Cambio de disparos con sus tripulantes, murió el presunto líder criminal. En la imagen también se observa la presencia de al menos 2 helicópteros de la Secretaría de Marina que apoyaron a los elementos en tierra para localizar y neutralizar a los presuntos delincuentes.
However, with the desire to find and kill El Marino Loko, Commander Bull met his death on April 22, 2017, when he was shot by members of the Mexican army in Reynosa. The number of cartels he brought down and the number of drug lords that lost their lives in all of El Marino's operations are unreported. In addition to arrests and seizures of drugs, weapons, and cash, El Marino Loko's team was involved in several important and successful investigations. It is also a known fact that he seldom fails whenever he is on the lookout for targets. El Marino and his team's work during the frontal attack on the Gulf Cartel in Tampico at the time helped the Mexican authorities develop much of the intelligence still used by Mexico's federal and state police agencies to target the cartel's regional structure today. Despite his higher-ups pulling him out of the investigation for questionable reasons, the groundwork laid by his team allowed state and federal authorities to trace key figures, including Silvestre R1 or Cheve, Jaro Rodriguez, Luis Urbano El Cumbias Chavez, Marco Antonio Artu Jaro, El Cheve's brother, who had succeeded him as leader amongst many others who were arrested even after his supposed dismissal from the Navy. A man who gets the job done without care for the methods or process. Who wouldn't fear such a man? After his operation on the Gulf Cartel, El Marino Loko was pulled out of the Mexican armed forces. Although his whereabouts are unknown today, several theories could explain what happened to him. A report on the U.S. portal stated he might have been fired from the Navy due to corruption and illegal activities. Meanwhile, some witnesses confirm Morales is still active and has even created his anti-drug group to operate in hiding. This conspiracy is supported by the fact that drug traffickers have been arrested in Michoacan dressed in women's underwear, a style only practiced by El Marino Loko and his team. While El Marino Loko's era of kicking doors down and dressing fearsome cartel bosses in women's lingerie is long over, his legacy will forever be remembered by drug cartels and those that lived during his time. If you found El Marino Loko's story intriguing, this channel has got more to offer you. Simply click on a video on the screen and check them out.